Welcome to season 2 of the Born and Bred podcast.
In this season, we get chatting to some of Northern Ireland's sporting heroes.
Hello and welcome to a new season of the Born and Bred podcast. On this week's episode, we have someone who has played over 70 times for his country, played all across the UK and Ireland, most recently playing for Glentoran, and someone who is in a very elite club of players who can say that they've scored in a major tournament. So we're delighted to welcome Niall McGinn to the podcast.
Nice to be here.
Hello.
What an intro that was.
I thought she wasn't going to stop, so the longer she spoke there, I was like, Jesus, did I just experience all them good times? So,
Yeah.
nah, nice to be here.
How are you anyway? How's things?
Oh, it's been brilliant, to be honest. Obviously, more recently, that when I came back, and I've come back home, signed for Glentoran, things are good. See, if I'm being honest, I would never ever thought I would have come back to the Irish League. Playing so long in Scotland and England and just really enjoying my football, trying to prolong my career as long as possible. But to be back again, to be back to home surroundings, familiarities, close to family, friends, it's been good, so can't complain.
Nice. So this podcast is called Born and Bred. So what we do is we get people on, obviously they've all been from Northern Ireland so far, and we just get to know you, your journey. So take us right back to the start. Where do you come from?
Come from my mum.
Why does everyone always give me a stupid answer for that? I'm trying to be deadly serious.
Dad jokes.
No, well, I come from a wee village, Donaghmore. There's probably about maybe 5,000 people in West Tyrone. But growing up, it was always Gaelic football. It was never like soccer, as you'd like to say. I went to the local fun weeks. It was maybe 7 or 8. And that's actually the first time I actually met Rodney, my current manager, Joe McAree, Dixie Robinson were sort of there watching. I just happened to do really well. I just loved playing football. I was always out with my brother around the local housing estate. We always had competitions in my village. It was like different housing estates to give against the other housing
We
estates.
did that too.
But we always kept winning because I was obviously talented. My brother was always good. And then other people around my housing estate were always good, and nobody could ever beat us. The same as Halloween, we like had our own individual bonfires, but we used to steal obviously off everybody. But long story short, I just love playing football, and I went to the fun weeks, and my mum drove me all over the country, and then I actually came a wee bit more serious, so I ended up going through the Dungannon youth system, and I always played Gaelic football. I just loved Gaelic football at the time, and I've always said it probably stood me in good stead to go on and be an actual professional footballer in the game now.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have to make that decision at some point to sort of sack the Gaelic off and just focus on football?
I did, yeah, because I played at quite a high level for Tyrone. I played Tyrone Minors, Tyrone under-21s, and then the opportunity to play for Tyrone first team, because I remember the opening the lights of Croke Park. There was an opportunity because Tyrone was playing Dublin in front of 80,000 people, so I'm straight away, I was like, this will be unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey Hart, the manager, was watching me as part of the team, and he's like, I just don't want you to be part of my league squad. I want you to be part of the championship, everything, National League. And I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. But at the same time, I just broke into Dungannon Swiss first team. Just really enjoying my football. Like, I was training 4 or 5 nights a week, and I was playing a soccer match on a Saturday, and I was playing a Gaelic match on a Sunday. So I wouldn't have been a big drinker. I was never out. And I even remember I played a game at Windsor Park at 3 o'clock against Linfield, and I had a car waiting on me at 5:30 to go up the road to Dungannon to play a Gaelic match at 6:30 straight after. So that's like madness to think now that back then I was doing that. But it came to a stage where I had to make that decision, and Stephen Kenny at the time was obviously interested in me, and he was just back from Scotland and gave me a phone call, and was like, I'd love you to sign at Derry City. And then once sort of that call was made, I was like, you have an opportunity to become a professional footballer here. And I just jumped at the chance because I've got good friends now in the game, and big boy Colin Kavanagh, who went to school with, he done his accountancy, and was always like, he was very good at Gaelic. Like, he was getting up in the morning at maybe 7, going out all day working as an accountant, getting home at maybe 10 o'clock at night. He was training obviously with Gaelic and stuff afterwards, and not getting a penny for it. So for me to have that opportunity to become a professional footballer, I just jumped at the chance, and here I am 15 years later still enjoying it.
So was it always you wanted to either just play Gaelic or football? Like, did you know specifically what it was you wanted to do?
Like, if I was being honest, like, I never grew up thinking, yeah, I want to be a professional footballer. I just love sports, and then I'd never thought I would have been a professional footballer, if I'm being honest, and never mind international footballer. sort of signing that 3-year contract, it just left me like, wow, this is unbelievable. I remember initially I signed for Derry City, but I was always travelling back and forth between Derry and Tyrone. And then, to be fair to Stephen Kenny, he put his arm around me. He says, look, I need you to stay here. I need you to live here. And because it helped me in the sense of like I was getting familiar with the city, familiar with obviously the fans, the players, everything. And I think him putting his arm around my shoulder helped me to go on to have an unbelievable first season. And then resulting in that, I ended up getting Young Player of the Year in Ireland. And then I remember 6 months into being at Derry City, Paddy McCourt moved to Celtic. And it was a big hooray. It's like, wow, it's unbelievable. Paddy McCourt's going to Celtic. And then I didn't think in a million years, 6 months later, that I'd be going to Celtic as well. So I was a whirlwind probably, I'd say about 18 months, where I went from playing Gaelic football, playing in front of maybe 100 people at Dungan Swiss, part-time football, to making my international debut, to making my competitive debut, league debut for Celtic in front of 60,000 people. So it was a whirlwind probably 2 years, and now I wouldn't change it for the world.
And what was it that shift from 0 to 100 for you?
I just took everything in stride. I think it's because my personality was so chilled and had the right people around me, good family, good upbringing. I think now in football, you would get a lot of people at maybe 14, 15, 16, go across the water at a young age, and they come home and they're homesick at 17, 18, then they go on and they maybe fizzle out of football and stuff. I went across at 19, 20, where I was sort of relatively old, mature. I was, as I said, good people around me. I was well warned of you're moving to Glasgow, you're moving to Fishbowl. Obviously Celtic Rangers, a big city, just sort of keep yourself right and just knuckle down. And thankfully I did that. And then even to make my actual first 2 games for Celtic was a wee bit crazy, because I played in the Wembley Cup tournament, and I got a phone call on the Friday night to say, oh, come down to Wembley. You're going to obviously play tomorrow. So we're in the Wembley Cup, and I got a phone call to go down the Saturday, play against Tottenham on the Saturday, to make my debut at Wembley. And then actually my second game was at the Etihad like a couple of weeks later, just for 2 pre-season friendlies. But my actual competitive debut, I just played for Northern Ireland on the Wednesday night, and got a phone call from Tony Mowbray at the time, saying, look, Aidan McGinn, who's been doing very well, he was suspended the weekend. He's like, oh, you're about to make your debut this weekend. And straight away I was just excited and couldn't believe it. It's like nervous, obviously, but straight away on the phone to my family and friends saying, I'm going to play this weekend, which would have been a massive thing back home then.
Did you feel like it was a big step up moving from Derry City in terms of standard then going to Celtic?
Oh, absolutely. I remember going in my first few days, and you're seeing the likes of Nakamura, Aidan McGinn, and you're just sort of training these players that you actually grow up. Like I went across the Celtic games and went to games, watched them, obviously being to Old Trafford growing up, supporting Man United as well. So to sort of be in the same place as these players and watch these players, you just knew how difficult it was going to be. But that first year full-time football, Derry City definitely stood me in a good stead. I had an opportunity. I remember Swansea were watching me for about 6 months, but my agent was good in the sense of he never told me once, oh, this club's watching you, and he always sort of kept updated and made sure I was doing okay, playing well. And I actually went to Swansea and met Roberto Martinez twice at the match. Went to Swansea and Cardiff game, which was unbelievable. I was about to sign for Swansea, and I was just in the house one night actually, and my phone goes. My agent, he was driving, I think it's from your neck of the woods, Maherfeld. He was down there doing something, and he's like, where are you? He's like, I'm in the house. He said, Neil Lennon's been on the phone at Celtic, want to sign you. And I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. Even an opportunity to sign for probably one of the biggest teams in the world. So straight away drove to my house, just said this, and yeah, going from obviously watching Celtic games to flying over and signing for Celtic was just a whirlwind time. But regarding your question about standard, yeah, I seen a massive jump in standard straight away.
And were you nervous? Because obviously when you went across, you were relatively young but old in a way as well. Like you weren't like 17, 18, like you were a little bit older. Like, were you nervous making that transition?
Oh, nervous big time. Just I would have got sort of nervous. Like you're meeting people who even now you still on an international stage, when you're running out against like Ronaldo, you're running out against the best players in the world, you're like, you still sort of get nervous in the sense of like the game itself, never mind the actual personalities, but you just sort of take everything in your stride. And I've sort of learned that over years. I've always been sort of level headed. You never get up too high and you never get too low. Just sort of take the good with the bad. And thankfully throughout my career, where the good times have overshadowed the bad times, which has been good.
That's maybe similar to you in a sense. Like, I'm sure you saw like a massive shift going from playing at Middlesbrough to then going, I'm going to Everton.
Well, that's it. Like,
there was no in between.
Yeah, I related so much. Like, for me, it was exactly the same. I mean, the women's game obviously has come on leaps and bounds, but back then there was one game on a year, and that was the FA Cup final, and Everton got to that quite regularly. And I was still in high school in Macfelt, and I went across, and I was training with like Jill Scott and Tony Duggan, like all these superstars to me. And I was like, what the bloody hell am I doing here? You know, like it was so weird. But I was so nervous too. But it's just one of them things. You just have to try and take it in your stride and just try and learn from them, I suppose. And I suppose that's similar to what you had to do then.
No, absolutely. No, sometimes, if you're being honest, you feel out of your comfort zone at times. You feel like, should I be here? But the older you get, the more experience you get. You think, why not? Like, you're equal to everyone else, and you've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to become a professional footballer and to mix it with the best in the world. That's what you want to do. You want to play in the highest stage possible, and thankfully you as women have done that, and me as a obviously Northern Ireland player as well. It's been brilliant, and I wouldn't change it, that's for sure.
Did you ever get homesick in them early days when you went across?
A wee bit, but it was good in the sense of I had good friends and good family. They would always come over to my game, and my best mate now, James McGinn, who's living in San Francisco, he just came. I remember my first year at Celtic, I was trying to get used to, like, around Christmas time, you're training on Christmas Day, you have a game on Boxing Day, and it was all new to me, and I was remembering, I was like, I'm on my own here Christmas Day, like, what do I do? Do I go out for food or whatever? But fair play to him, he flew over, and me and him booked somewhere, went out for Christmas dinner, and
oh wow, that's good. Yeah, that's good. I'm do fair.
The second year, I've always said, I know this big mad Celtic fan, and he always texts me all the time, and I remember the second year he invited me around for Christmas dinner, and I ended up getting food poisoning, like, because I had a game on Boxing Day. I don't know if it was a food or it was maybe just feeling sick, but he always pretends that it was a food, but I managed to play the game on the Boxing Day anyway, and I was grand. I just got through it. Plenty of electric lights into me, but no, I've definitely rewarded him in the sense of, like, I've been going to San Francisco this last 10 years, because to be fair to him, he travelled everywhere to come and watch me, and he went to a lot of my Celtic games and spent time in Glasgow and coming over for Christmas and all stuff like that. Appreciated, and thankfully he's living in a nice part of the world. I can go and travel.
Well, yeah. And do you think that made like such a difference for you? Because it can be quite lonely sometimes, especially when you move away from home. And I mean, it's different for you because you don't get Christmas off. Being in the men's game, like, we're fortunate that to date we kind of get a little bit of a break, but that must be tough in on Christmas Day and playing on Boxing Day and all that.
Yeah, no, even this year, that was my second time home in 15 years for Christmas dinner. It was just nice to be around family, and like, your family obviously don't get to see you around Christmas time. It's me home, spend time with my mum, dad, seeing all the nieces and nephews and my sisters and my brother. So to be home and have that experience of Christmas at home it's been nice, to be honest. And but all in all, as the years have gone on, like, you miss out on birthdays, you miss out on, like, I missed my sister's wedding because it was a Friday, but it's her fault because you booked it on Friday. My other sister actually booked it around me, my brother booked it around me, but my other sister's maybe a wee bit more stubborn, but she obviously booked it on a Friday and I missed it because I was training and game on a Saturday. But now people don't realise you miss out on them events and stuff. And even one of my good mates, he got married, I think it was the 23rd of December, and I was best man. I was like, I'm not going to make this, and he was panicking, but I just came back from South Korea when I was there, and I just happened to be off for like 6 weeks before I signed for Aberdeen again in January, and I just happened to make it, and that's probably one of the hardest things I had to do was a best man speech.
Yeah.
I've done two of them, my brother and then him as well, so Rory McIlroy sitting in front of you at the wedding too, and you're obviously nervous.
Oh, wow,
you're
right.
nervous to see him, and never mind obviously speaking in front of a hall in front of 400 people probably, but no, it was good to do that.
And that time at Celtic obviously would have been challenging for titles and trophies. And what was kind of the dressing room like at the time? Obviously it was probably quite an intense environment to be in, and probably Neil Lennon was pretty intense as a manager as well.
Lanny was brilliant. He was always very good with the Irish guys. You had me, you had Darren O'Dea, you had Paddy McCourt, you had Anthony Stokes, Darren O'Dea. When I moved over initially, I moved in the development squad, which was grand. But once I get the call to say you're moving in the first team change room, straight away you're took back because you're you're walking into a dressing room full of big characters. You'd obviously Arthur Borgia, the goalie, you'd Scott Brown, the captain. I'd say there in the 2.5 years I was there, I must have came across, I'd say, a good 50 players. And then Robbie Keane came into the squad, Freddie Lundberg, sort of older established players you'd probably seen in the Premiership years. And Freddie Lundberg was obviously in the Invincible team at Arsenal. And the sort of characters like that in the change room, you're sort of a wee bit stood back. And
Yeah.
like the sheer change room of these type of caliber of players was unbelievable. But as you sort of grow into that and get to sort of know them and they get to know you, it's like you're all the same as I said before, and you just get on with things and just enjoy your football. But no, I wouldn't change it.
And was there any in particular that stood out as like characters that you really like learned off, like, or people who were mentors or anything?
No, everyone was good. Everyone asked me about people always ask me about like Kyle Lafferty's and Scott Brown's, because Scott Brown's got a persona to be different on the pitch, and obviously big Kyle as well, who's daft as a brush. But people ask me all the time, like, what's he like? He's this, he's that, he does this, he does that. It's like, see, when you meet these guys, they're just like us. And Scott Brown's got the persona when he's out on the pitch. He's just a born winner, and he just wants to win all the time. And like, you're being friendly with these guys. I got to play Scott Brown at Aberdeen again, and at Celtic he was brilliant. And even when Aberdeen played Celtic, it was as if like he didn't know you, even though like you played with him for years. Like, he's just like any other player. He just wanted to be out there and win that game. And after the game, you'd speak away to him and laugh and joke. And see him a big laughs. He's just a down to earth fella. He's just maybe a wee screw loose now and again. But these players that you get to sort of get to know their real personalities over the years. It's until you actually get to know these people, then you sort of can learn off the likes of a Scott Brown, who was just a born winner, and what he achieved in the game for Celtic was unbelievable. And it's great to see him get into management now, and he's bringing sort of that winning mentality with him. And characters like that over the years, Lenny as well, you sort of try and learn from, because I've had different managers over the years, because I probably want to go down the line of, I think I'm more level headed to become a manager more so than maybe a coach. But I'll get into my coaching and do that, and then if it turns out I enjoy that and get an opportunity to be a manager one day, then I'll go for it.
Have you got any of your badges yet?
I've done my B licence, and then I'm on roll to go into my A licence this summer, so I'll see if that takes me. One of my good mates, Thomas Stewart, he's actually done his B licence and his A licence, and he's only 36. I told him he should have kept playing for as long as he could, but he went through a tricky patch with obviously COVID and different things, and he's done his A licence, and he's just been rewarded with his first managerial job out in Sweden. Now he moves out now a week tomorrow. So to see him at 36 years of age getting his first manager job is unbelievable, and hopefully I can maybe go down that line when I finish playing. But there's definitely a couple of years left.
Yeah.
Hoping so, as long as the legs hold up anyway.
So then, in terms of your career, like after Celtic, like talk us through what came next for you then.
I had setbacks even when I was like relatively young. Like, I went to Crewe when I was about 14 or 15. I remember Dario Grady was a manager at the time, and me and a boy Michael O'Connor went across, and we actually played the game, and actually scored like 2 goals in the game, thinking, yes, they're going to sign me. I didn't really go on many trials. I was probably like a late developer, and obviously got a wee bit of luck as I got older, which everyone needs. But at 14, I was like, they told me I was too small. Oh, you're not going to make it or whatever. I end up doing well, and like sort of wee moments make you want to like work harder and like obviously prove everyone wrong. So I just went back and obviously played for Dungan and got my move to Celtic. And then after Celtic, it was sort of a tricky end. I was just a bit unfortunate with injuries. I done my 5th metatarsal the very last training session of one of the seasons, and made me miss like 3 months to start of the next season. Came back in, done well, and with Celtic there's constantly players come and going, and then players come in the January transfer window, which meant that they went probably ahead of me in the packing order, which was fine, and I just kept my head down, kept working hard. But come towards the end of that season, it was probably an opportunity for me to go out and play football. I think I played maybe 36 times for Celtic, scored 6 goals, and I had the opportunity to go to Brentford, and I thought, like, this will be good for me, go there and play football. And I think going to Brentford, playing maybe got to 40 odd games, stood me in good stead to go on and have a very good career with Aberdeen, and end up going to Aberdeen for 8-9 seasons. But the Aberdeen one was funny in the sense of Magin was being quite smart and shrewd at the same time. Craig Brown, who is the last Scotland manager to bring them to the World Cup, so he was over to watch a guy in Dublin, and my agent asked me to come along. Like, who knows what could come off this, but he didn't realise at the time I was a free agent. And went into my agent's house and had a chat. That was grand. We drove down to Dublin to watch this other player, and I remember my agent sort of telling me afterwards. He leant in and at half time was like, what's Niall's situation? And the thing that helped me probably that day, he got to meet me for me and meet me for like who I am and stuff. He obviously knew me from Celtic playing against Aberdeen, etc., and he got to meet my personality. But it was a good one in the sense of he knew I was a wide player. And he was like, would love to sign you. Do you want to sign? I was like, yeah. He's like, but I don't want to sign you as a wide player. I want to sign you as a striker. And straight away I'm thinking, why would he want to sign me as a striker? I've never played striker in my life. But long story short, he signed me as a striker. My first season I played up front and I scored 21 goals and I just had a brilliant season. And then that just sort of stemmed from helping my international career and going on to having a very good career with Aberdeen. So those wee sort of moments and those wee stories, it's just madness how football works. You get stories for every team and every sort of setback and every positive, and you just take it all in your stride and just sort of prolong it for as long as possible.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you just, so many times you hear of people just being like in the right place at the right time, and then there's people who are probably super talented that never really seem to
It's all about the break.
make it, or they're late to it. Like whenever you look at like Jamie Vardy and how late he was coming into the Premier League and things like that. So yeah, some people's journeys are just mad, like the way that they end up going.
What about international then? So talk to us about making
International.
your debut and stuff.
Straight back, I remembered I was driving home from training one day from Derry City, and Nigel Worthington actually phoned me. So I got this random phone call, answered it. He's like, Nigel, we're here, and straight away I'm thinking the boys are taking the mick. I've just coming towards the end of the season, although I was doing very well and stuff, but there was never like talk of like I never played for Northern Ireland under age anywhere. I played in the Milk Cup for my county Tyrone. I played in the Foyle Cup actually for Leeds United when I was like 13, 14. But there was never no word of me playing for the schoolboys, 18s or whatever. I remember one game I played for the under 23s. It was just like a random couple of games that was done. Dave Jeffrey was a manager at the time, but straight away there wasn't like, do I play for Republic or to play for Northern Ireland? It never actually came into my head because straight away I was just enjoying my first year full-time football at Derry City. I would never thought, Jesus, I'm going to be an international player as well. So once I got that phone call, straight away I was thinking, boys are taking the mick. But as long as the conversation went on, he's like, yeah, we've been keeping a very close eye on you. Like, would love to have you in. And the thing for me, which was unbelievable, the night I made my debut, obviously young lad from Donegal, playing for Dungan Swiss, playing for Derry City, and just the uproar when I made my debut at Windsor Park that night was just unbelievable. And straight away you just fall in love with it, and you're like, this atmosphere. I've always said there's not many places beat the atmosphere in Windsor Park when it's full and they're singing, and it feels like 50, 60,000 people there, more so than however many it holds, whether it's 18,000 or so. But the atmosphere it generates is unbelievable, and straight away I just fell in love with it, and it's like, yeah, every time you get the ball it just makes you feel unbelievable that you're going to create something or score a goal or create a chance. And now the first couple of games, I think my debut was against Hungary, and yeah, just the whole, I don't remember too much about it now, but just the whole atmosphere that surrounds everything, and then the nice words the manager gave me after the game, and everything just sort of went from strength to strength then. And I think with different international managers coming in and different roles, you always try and make your way in the game. Like international football for me, if I'm being honest, has been very hard for me in the sense of I've always had to try and press managers, whether it's been Nigel, whether it's been Michael, whether it's been Ian. I've always had a lot of setbacks in international football. Even under Michael, I remember I wasn't maybe getting into the squads. I was left out of squads, and I just had a purple patch against for Aberdeen. I was scoring a few goals. He actually brought me into the squad. We're about to play Portugal. I just remember saying to myself, like, confidence good, just go away, have a good weeks of training, and look, if I even make the squad or make the team day squad, I'll be over the moon. And I just had an unbelievable week of training. I've always found that with Michael, I've always got my way in the team with training well. I think it's different. It's with Northern Ireland, like I can say this with, you've got players like Johnny Evans, Steve Davis, Craig Cathcart, Stuart Dallas's boys are playing the top 11. Of course, they're more than likely going to play ahead of like myself and other players, and that's the way international football has been. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I've always been keep the head down. But regarding that Portugal story, I turned up, trained very hard, and Michael said to me, "Look, you've trained brilliant. You're going to start against Portugal." And I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. I hadn't played in a while, and he's like, it's Ronaldo's 100th cap, so it's a big event for him. And there's me, like, coming into the game nervous as anything, and I remember like Johnny stepped in, took the ball, gave it to Laughs, and Laughs played me through, and I scored. And that was my first goal for Northern Ireland. Just ran over to the fans in front of 50,000 people in Port, and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. And to get that sort of buzz just made me hungry for more success. And I've always been the type of player that sort of has come on to try and make an impact, to try and maybe create a chance or score goals. And boys always joke with me and stuff. I've always been the type of player who stepped up and scored big goals. I've scored obviously important goals going in the camp, going to the Euros, and then obviously there's no better feeling scoring in a major tournament. Thankfully, I've done that.
Well, that was obviously where we were leading to. You know, obviously, I remember, like, I was obviously such a huge fan back then, and for us, that was our dream too. But yeah, talk us through that sort of period leading up to the tournament, and then obviously the big moment when you got your goal there.
Nervous straight away. Like, even we're doing the, obviously, managers wanting to narrow the squad down as many people as possible, and you're thinking, I could get dropped here, or I mightn't go to this major tournament. I've worked so hard. I think I've played a key part to help the team get to a major tournament, but that still doesn't guarantee you to obviously go. And when I seen him obviously letting players down, I even mind he was letting Liam Boyce at the time. He was telling him obviously he wasn't going, and sort of see their reaction and see how sort of maybe sad they were was disappointing to see. But at the same time, you're thinking, yes, you're here for yourself and you want to do well for you first and foremost, and then if you're part of the team, you obviously want to do well for the team as well. So initially, just like pure excitement. We've just qualified for a major tournament, first time in 30 years, and to sort of be part of that era where things were unbelievable, the games, and to have the opportunity to go to a major tournament, you just wanted to obviously go there, not only just go there and show how good you are as a team, but go and compete and just see how far it goes. And yeah, now thankfully I went there, and first game I was disappointed, didn't get on, which is fine, but I was always the type of player, as I said earlier, I always just trained well, and if I get the opportunity, I knew after the first game we played a 3-5-2, and I knew going into the second game Michael sort of had in his head he's going to go to a 4-3-3, thinking he's going to go on two and out wingers and have an opportunity to just get out Ukraine, and thankfully that was the case because the boys did well. Big G scores his goal, and then I get the opportunity to come on, get a good half an hour, and I was probably the only one in the whole stadium telling Josh not to run in the corner and keep the ball. But now once he got by the defender and crossed it, I've actually heard a shout from Stewardy. He shouted over, and I've left the ball to Stewardy to have a shot, and then I've just followed it in, and thankfully it's in the right place at the right time. But I think that's always been, Michael's like said it to me loads. He always says to me, even I've got these big goals over the years for Northern Ireland, he's always said to me, like, you always find yourself in sort of unorthodox positions where you just happen to be in the right place at the right time. But now thankfully I've been in the right place at the right time on the key moments, and yeah, no, I wouldn't change it, that's for sure.
One thing though that I've really clocked on to is your mindset, because obviously, you know, you come on but you have such a positive mindset that I'm going to come on and I'm going to make an impact. And I suppose if there's like young aspiring footballers that are listening today, like, what would you say that you do to have that positive mindset? Because it's hard having setbacks and, you know, not starting games. Like, how do you deal with that?
I've just really enjoyed, like, I just get sheer excitement. If I'm initially like announcing the squad, straight away I'm excited because I know of another opportunity to get another cap, play for Northern Ireland, do well. You're on the sort of European world stage type thing, and I've just been all as mindset of just take the good with the bad. Don't get too high, and obviously don't get too low. And I've always been the mindset of things will always turn. Even like the last 3 months or 4 months from there, it was probably the hardest in my career because I was training with the reserve team. I wasn't training with the first team due to obviously different circumstances, but I was always in the mindset I had good people around me. The players were always very supportive, and I knew if I kept my head down and kept working hard that I'll get an opportunity elsewhere. And thankfully when January came, I ended up coming to Glentoran. I've just come in and thankfully I've hit the ground running, and I've scored 5 goals now in 6 games. So thankfully it's been good for me, and that's the mindset of like things will always turn around and things will always come good. And throughout my international career, I've definitely had setbacks in the sense of I've been left out of the squads, and you're just always trying to prove the manager right. You're trying to prove the coaching staff, previous managers, and just sort of take all them sort of negative times and try and make positives out of them. And even under Ian as well, there were situations where I was going to be left out of the squad a couple of times, and I just knew just go back to your club, just try and play good football, and hopefully other opportunities came. And I ended up getting called into the squad, and remember I was a sub and we're playing USA 2-0 down, and he brought me on. I just was like, go and try and make an impact, and I've ended up coming on and scoring a brilliant goal. So I went from not initially being in the squad to scoring against USA, and then the next game he was obviously debating whether to start me or not, and I was a sub, but straight away you're like your first sub, so you feel like you're going from not being in the squad to being one of the main players. It's sort of having that mindset of just stay positive and hopefully just grab the opportunities as they come along, because there always will be opportunities. Just going there and doing really well and trying to contribute, and thankfully I have done that.
International football can be a funny one like that though, where there's that trade-off of, do managers pick based on form, or do they just kind of stick with what they know and pick based on trust? Like, what's your sort of experience of that? Has it always been, well, it's probably manager dependent, just like some of them just like who they like, and then others are more down the route of like who's training well?
No, that's the way it's been. It's been like that for me. I've never ever felt, I could be open and honest and say, I've never felt that any time I've went in the Northern Ireland squad that I'm definitely going to play that game. I've always been the mindset of like, I just want to play. If I get the opportunity, if I train right, I'll hopefully get an opportunity. If I'm going to start, then obviously I'll be delighted. But each camp that I've ever went to, it's always with me trying to train well to prove that I can play. And that was always the case with Michael, definitely, because I always trained my way into the team, and Michael could always rely on me, whether it was from the start or whether it was a sub, and it was always that relationship. Like over my 72 caps, I would say a lot of them has definitely been more sub appearances than starts, and but how I've contributed, whether it's been off the bench or from the start, it's definitely been something that I definitely wouldn't change. And as I said to you earlier, like if I was getting a camp for being in every squad that I've been in, I'd be well over 150 caps probably. I'll probably double my numbers, but different players are just in different positions, and thankfully I've been type of boy who's just get on with things and take the good with the bad, as I said before. And now it's always been that way. And even under Ian, I think I always had to prove myself with Ian as well. He was leaving me out of a couple of squads, and the recent squad he left me out, but I always felt like I picked up the phone one day and I phoned Ian and I had a good personal conversation with him. I said, look, I've proven over the years that I've been reliable. I've played in these big games. It was actually against Bosnia, a semi-final of that we beat Bosnia. It's like I've played in these big games, and I think from actually having them discussions and him hearing from me, it probably resulted in me actually playing in that game. So he actually ended up starting me, which I was surprised at, but at the same time excited. So from him starting me, we went 1-0 down, and I ended up scoring an equaliser, which obviously brought the penalties for us to beat Bosnia, to sort of go over there and play in that big game. I was delighted, but I just got the feel even from the players, like, oh, you're going to score tonight, because they sense from me doing well in training, they're like, they felt like I was going to score, and that happened loads of times throughout my sort of international career, with coming on and like scoring goals and obviously scoring a major tournament as well. So now thankfully I've done okay.
I was going to say, like, we've all been a sub at some point in our careers, and you do try to have that mindset. Is that very much the same for you? Like, you're coming on and you're like, I'm going to make an impact, I'm going to score a goal. Is that what's going through your head when you're coming on? Because, you've done it a lot.
Yeah, not even. You're just hoping you're sort of that player that sort of the manager can rely on, whether you're playing from the start or playing from being on the bench. And I even know after that USA game, as I said to you earlier, like, Ian was like playing me straight away, because he knew I was confident and I was coming off the back of scoring a brilliant goal. And even my last game for Northern Ireland, I remember we're 2-0 down, and for him to look to me straight away, like, we're 2-0 down, he's like, I want to bring you on here. So I've come on, end up setting up the first goal, and then we end up going on and drawing that game 2-2, and it probably helped him because he's 2-0 down, in the sense of like, you've come on here and you've helped the manager, you've helped the team, you're helping everyone sort of try and get a positive result, and we didn't lose the game, which is always important. But I always felt like I could have offered more to Ian's team than what the chances he gave me, if you know what I mean. And that's simply down to the manager and his choice and his options that he wants to take. But I've always been in the mindset of I definitely could have contributed a lot more, even though I did score a couple of goals under him, if you know what I mean, with the Bosnia goal, the USA goal as well. So I always felt I could have contributed a lot more. Unfortunately, I didn't. So I'm just hoping now, with doing well at Glentoran, hopefully that allows me the opportunity of just being in the squad with the Northern Ireland team again.
And obviously then moving on to Glentoran, what was it made you want to come back?
I weighed up different options. I think being sort of the mindset of like what I want to do in the future, how long do I want to play for. I had to take a ring into consideration, and Glentoran initially offered me an 18-month contract, which obviously brings me to, I'm 37. They're going to help me with my coaching badges. I'm going to try and get into it. But initially, straight away, I just wanted to get out, play football, get back playing with a smile on my face, because as I said earlier, the last 3 months were probably the hardest in my career, where it was tough and I was feeling low and stuff, which you go through as a footballer, and not many sort of people see that. But to see how things were back then, 3-4 months ago, to things are now, like even speaking to people and speaking to different reporters and speaking to like certain people who helped me through that time, where it was even the club doctor, other people, like the seeing a different sort of, I don't know, like a different sort of, like few different steps in your voice, like you're speaking well, and you don't seem down, and you're really enjoying football again, which has been good. And that's what I wanted, just to go out, play football, enjoy it, play for as long as I can. And initially, speaking to Rodney was good in the sense of, he was being realistic to me, because Rodney had said to me, look, if you're 28, 29, I would never have thought of coming to ask you to obviously come back home and play in the Irish League again. He says, you're at an age now, with your experience, you still have a lot to give. You've looked after yourself, you're fit, come here and play football. So he always joked about with my sister, because my sister actually cuts his hair, and he's always joked with her. My sister said to me a few times, and then Rodney spoke to me. Obviously went to the Boxing Day game with the watch Glentoran and Phil, got a wee flavour of it, and met the manager, and everything was positive. And here I am 4 or 5 weeks later playing for them, and now I'm enjoying my football, which is good.
Did you have any like reservations based on the fact that, like, it almost might, from the outside looking in, maybe might look like a bit of a step down, like coming back home? Like you said, you probably never imagined that you would come back home and play again. You maybe thought that you'd finish your career like out in Scotland, because you come so settled there.
No, like I love Scotland. I love playing there. Like I think the Scottish people, they just love the game over there. Well, I was playing for Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, One Team City. Fans got behind their teams. Dundee's is like obviously Dundee United, and Dundee was a big derby I got to play in as well. So no, I love the passion from the Scottish fans, and I had a few options in Scotland before I came home. But when I weighed everything up and have the opportunity to come back to a big club back here, and I know even from looking from the outside in, I've played in this league. I've seen good players come and go. I've seen players move across the water to go on having good careers. No more so probably Sturdy Dallas is probably the one who sort of went after me. To go on and have an unbelievable career. He's playing the Premiership. He was obviously playing the Crusaders. So Gavin White as well. So you players there who went on, and even more so recently, probably in the last 3-4 years, you'd Shane Lavery, you'd Conor McManam, who's now went from Glentoran to making his competitive debut. So I know even from looking from the outside in, there's good players in this league. It's just getting the opportunity, of going and playing maybe full-time football somewhere else, more so than maybe not playing full-time football in the Irish League. Whereas now they have 3, 4, 5 clubs here full-time here now, and it's good. I'm coming in the squad where I'm playing with like a Luke McCulloch, he was in the Euro squad 2016. There's Eddie Wilson, who's at Rangers, played for Rangers. You've players who've played at a very high level, and Bobby Burns, who's played in Scotland, Hearts as well. So there's good young players coming through. But I want to come back, just first and foremost enjoy my football, try and help the young lads, and try and promote the Irish league. And I know sort of facilities wise how well the women have done, how well the guys have done over the last maybe 5 to 10 years, how much more better, like facilities, as I said to you before, is getting better, and that has credit to everyone, the clubs first and foremost, people around the clubs, whether it's volunteers, everything, just sort of making pitches better, making the facilities better. And that just stems way down from the men doing well on the pitch and the women doing well on the pitch, that you can sort of promote grassroots football. And even now, like I probably wouldn't have thought it 10, 15 years ago. Like my brother's wee girl, she's just mad about football now. She's playing Gaelic, she's playing soccer, and even recently, like she's just wanting like the match. She's getting all the wee stickers, and she's doing all the wee sticker books and stuff.
So are we.
Getting ourselves where am I?
I remember them when I was doing, like I would have filled up with 3 books, and you always like, you're going into school, you're exchanging three normal stickers for a shiny. But now to see that, and to sort of see how you can have an effect on your family, and even have like other people, and like they're like obviously media and stuff, and them having an opportunity to watch like football, and seeing that sort of stem its way down into your family, friends, and just other younger girls and younger boys throughout the country is good.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose for you as well, like I think the thing you said that stuck out the most is you're enjoying it again. Because I know that, and you said like a lot of footballers go through periods in a career where they just don't enjoy it. I know for me, my last year at Everton, I was really not happy when in football, and I didn't know, where do I want to go, and obviously that sparked a move. And I suppose I relate a lot to when you're saying it, that your last year there in Scotland, you weren't enjoying it. And would you say that that's the most important thing for you now, that you're happy playing?
Yeah, no, I didn't. I want to go out like still playing at a good level, and I've always said that as long as I keep enjoying it, I'll keep playing football. And I've always been the mindset of that. Even previous coaches and other managers, they're happy that I'm back here. They get to see me as well. People who've helped me massively, and as I said earlier, Dixie Robinson, Joe McAree, these people helped me massively at Dungannon Swiss, and to see sort of the likes of even scoring my first goal at Newry City. I remember it was Rodney's first game, but to have Rodney's dad there and Joe McAree, who helped me a lot when I was younger, to see him there, I remember running over and shaking his hand before the game and stuff, but to have him there, to see me going out and just enjoy my football, and then obviously scoring and different things, getting my first goal, and yeah, as long as I'm still enjoying it and obviously staying healthy, staying fit and no injuries, I'll keep playing for as long as I can, and that's what I want to do. And I think football in general, it just sort of gets a assumption of, oh, you're maybe 35, you're 36, and you're coming towards
That's
obviously
the
the
cutoff.
end.
Yeah,
It's
you
like people
can't
have
go
assumptions.
beyond.
No,
Yeah.
if you're good enough, why not? Just keep playing. And age is obviously only a number, as I'd like to say. But no, as long as I'm enjoying it and I'm looking after myself and keeping fit and well, I'll keep enjoying as long as I can, for sure.
And obviously keeping one eye then on what is next for you. You've spoke about coaching and potentially going in to manage, like being a manager. Is that something that you definitely see yourself potentially doing?
Definitely, I think so. I think I'm more level headed to be a manager, but that obviously could change. And I think working with the managers I have over the years, I've gained experience of how you should and probably how you shouldn't go about things, whether it's dealing with players, dealing with different situations. And I think I'm more sort of mentally driven in that side of things, where I can maybe bring my experiences to players, bring my experiences to clubs, etc. Whether it's me being at the right place at the right time to have that opportunity to go and be a coach or a manager. But first and foremost, I need to continue my coaching badges, do that, enjoy that, and then hopefully that'll allow me the opportunity to maybe be a manager one day. And that's probably what I want to do, if I'm being honest. And yeah, who knows what'll happen, but it definitely beats me working on my car wash days or working in a bar or working on off license when I was younger, just trying to get as much money as I possibly could, being a student back then, to sort of see where things are now. Yeah, all in all, I do want to stay in football for as long as I can, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I obviously, like, I'm at Glentoran as well, and we're sort of, having discussions about how the game moves forward and how it becomes more professional in a sense, and how we would make the league more competitive, and then that'll hopefully have a knock-on effect on an international level, like within the men's game as well. Like, from having played around a bit, what do you think we need to do here, both on a men's and a women's level, to like make Northern Ireland more competitive at a club level, so that they can go and compete in, say, Europe or whatever? And then how do we compete as Northern Ireland, on an international stage as well? Is there things that you've seen, haven't been around, that you think we need to do better here?
I think it's a combination of lots of things. It's investment, investment in the grassroots football, more investment in the facilities, make it more professional, both for the women and the guys, in the sense of like make the whole league professional, if you know what I mean. Now in the Irish League we have obviously 4 or 5 teams are full time, and we probably have an advantage over maybe the part time teams. It's just getting that investment and getting the right coaches, managers, right people, invest in that. Even I've always felt over my career, like when I've been in England, when I've been in Scotland, just the opportunities young kids have feels a lot more greater than I've ever had. Like, I've never had the opportunity of, like, I could just maybe walk into like a Man City academy or a Man United academy or whatever team. Like, I've never had that opportunity. I went from just going to a fun week, 2 weeks in the year, happened to do well, spot it, and then end up moving into a Dungannon United youth team, where I went from under 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s the whole way in. And that was my route into it. But regarding sort of just having more opportunities for more probably full-time younger like academies, I think.
Just a clear pathway and
clear
structure.
pathway where but even when you're doing them clear pathways, have have opportunities, have other opportunities in the sense of, look, everyone will not be a professional footballer. Have opportunities of trying to do other things that you enjoy as well, because what is it, 0.01% chance of a person becoming a professional footballer, whether it's guys, women, or wherever it may be. So to have that opportunity of becoming a professional footballer is obviously very minimum. So people need to probably realise that first and foremost. So they need to have backup plans. They need to have different systems that they can go through, that they can enjoy, as well as obviously if they become a professional footballer doing that. But if not, can they go into becoming a manager? Can they go into becoming a director of football or coach, or whatever it may be, and just sort of go down that line. It's just investment, everything. But you can tell sort of now Belfast as a city is great, but similar to Glasgow, and like in Glasgow you have like Celtic, Rangers, you have Motherwell are close, you have Hamilton, you have Partick Thistle, you have all these clubs are in Glasgow, and it's a vibrant city, and Belfast is a vibrant city. Like, why can we not do that? Do we need to go down the line of having an All Ireland league? Do we need to have summer football, which would probably help in the sense of, like, I know from my experience of playing in the Arcom League and having Friday night games and stuff like that, I really loved it, and I think it was good for the league. And I think summer league football would probably help the Irish league in the sense of them wanting to move forward, and just to make sort of everything better, whereas facilities, you wouldn't have as many games being called off and stuff like that. So combination of lots of things, and hopefully we can get there one day.
Well, fingers crossed. So I suppose to end the podcast, I mean, we haven't discussed it, but I'm just gonna throw it out there.
We don't discuss anything.
We really don't plan anything. We just go for it. What would you say is your career highlight?
Can I name them all?
Yeah, go for it. You can have as many as you want.
I've had loads of them. Been like my best moment is obviously scoring at a major tournament. I think when you grow up, you watch European Championships, you watch the World Cups, but to have the opportunity to be on that sort of world stage, playing against the best players in the world, scoring a goal in a major tournament was definitely the highlight. And in my footballing career, just wee personal career or personal sort of moments and highlights is making your competitive debut for Celtic, playing in Europe for Celtic, making your international debut, playing for Aberdeen, winning a trophy for Aberdeen, constantly playing in Europe, and doing well for them, and even like playing for Dungan Swiss at the time was unbelievable. Like, I just really enjoyed just playing soccer, and I really enjoyed it. And to be back now, and unfortunately for Dungan, I scored a hat trick against them a couple of weeks ago, but just wee moments like that, scoring. Like, I've only had 2 career hat tricks in my career, and Glentoran was one of them, and one of them was for Aberdeen as well. But just all wee moments like that you can sort of pull together. And when you look back, and I've always said it, and even till now, at the time, it was unbelievable. Like, we never got to experience like how good the Euros was, because we're straight back to the hotel. Your recovery, you're looking forward to the next game. You're watching everything on social media, where from beer gardens, from obviously the support down at the Titanic and stuff they had, but coming back and witness that support and that crowd was unbelievable. And I've always said it as well. People have asked me about it like loads of times, like, what was it like scoring that goal at the Euros? And I've always said it, like, I'll probably never ever settle until I'm going to like events maybe 10-20 years down the line, where I'm meeting up with the guys again, we're speaking about it, you're speaking to fans, I remember that time you scored that goal. But to have that moments, and in my career, I think it'll definitely sink in when I actually finish playing football. I get to sort of see what I've achieved for both internationally and club, and moments like that'll definitely sink in more so then than now, probably.
Brilliant. Well, that was a very long list of career highlights, but here,
hopefully winning the league for the Glens will be on it eventually as well.
So are we Irish Cuppers, so it'll be nice, definitely.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
But another wee thing
already still going.
This is bonus content.
Now, one thing that sort of lives in me is, like, when I was at Dungan Swifts, we got to the Irish Cup final for Dungan Swifts, and the manager actually left me out of the squad, and I remember I was in tears. But to be back in the Irish League now, and hopefully have the opportunity of trying to, well, I've played in the Irish Cup there obviously last week and scored, but to get an Irish Cup final and win one of them would be unbelievable for me, to sort of have that moment where I've had the disappointment of missing out in a cup final, but hopefully I get the opportunity next year too.
Well, we hope you do. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.